Well, it's Friday. Let's lighten up a bit, shall we? Well, today on Show Business, we delve into the intricate relationship between global geopolitics and Africa's creative industry. This comes as the U.S. suspends processing for immigration visas from 75 countries indefinitely, potentially including Ghana. Joining us, Kenneth Awotridako, culture journalist, also creative economy analyst, to help us unpack these complex dynamics. Good to have you in studio. First segment for the year.
Yes, happy New Year officially.
Happy New Year to you too. So I saw the topic, I was thinking, visa policies and creatives, what's the connection? How do the recent changes by the US affect African creatives?
You notice that Ghana, since time immemorial, has been a very huge export when it comes to the cultural space, arts, tradition, amongst other things. These are some of the things that are very unique touch points to the people. And so foreigners find that very intriguing when they are really tired of all they are saying and they begin to see some of these exciting things that are coming from Africa and West Africa as well. They are very excited about these things. That is why it's very concerning that around this period where some of these visa processing pauses have been instituted, it's supposed to be something that artists and creatives in the space should be concerned about, because it sort of could stifle the export of some of these experiences that Ghana prides itself with. And so it is something that we need to be concerned about as a creative space in this part of the world.
And we have to make clear, we are talking about immigrant visas here.
Yeah, exactly.
And so my next question would be, in what ways do short-term visas help mitigate the challenges that African creatives face? So
if we look at the nature of this U.S. pause that has been instituted, we know that the Ghana's ambassador to the U.S. has intimated that it is going to affect only long-term immigration applications. That is what's going to be affected, which is also quite problematic, because what really is long-term? How long is long-term? Because if you look at the nature of exports from Ghana in terms of the creative industry, we know that, for instance, an artist or a musician can go outside to go and perform. That is we know that's a short-term process. The person can be out there for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on how long the tour is going to be. But there are other issues in terms of residencies. For instance, in the fine art space, that people go out there to be hosted for at least a year or two to be able to create the art, because art is in it. You cannot really tell when the person will be done creating or going through the creative process. So some of those issues of longer-term stays are within a very blurry line when it comes to the period, whether it's going to be short or long. That is why it's important that we have these conversations. And so the opening or the window of the short-term stay or visiting stays could also help those that are going in there just to have minimal collaborations within a period and then come back home. Those areas are actually catered for, but we need to look at how long is long term.
So we need to point out these decisions are fluid. One day it's immigrant visas, the next day short-term visas. You may never know under this Trump administration. So how can African creators adapt to these changing geopolitics?
This means that Africans and the creative space on the continent should really now look inward when it comes to the creation of their art and how much they circulate them in the African ecosystem. We now do not have to always look at physically being outside the continent to be able to, ply our trade. We can be in here, and with the influx of technology and what it can do, we know what AI is doing these days. We know what some of these new technologies are bringing, and you are able to be anywhere literally and collaborate with anyone on any part of the world. And so it makes it quite easier to navigate that kind of impediment that is being placed right now. So maybe artists and creative experts would now have to look inward, be very authentic in the creation that they make, so that you do not need to physically be anywhere to have eyeballs come onto the product that you're offering as a creative person.
Well, despite the challenges, opportunities do exist, don't they?
They do exist. There are so many opportunities that this presents as well, because I mentioned the fact that technology is evolving. There are people on the African continent that are creating technologies that project works from our side of things in a very genuine and productive way. And so these are all opportunities to strengthen local industries. Strengthen those local industries are one way to do that. We can also grow some of these Pan-African markets that we already exist. We've seen the Beyond the Return is still going on. 30 December also just went by. We saw the influx of people that came into the country and how much they benefited from the creative market. So we can tap into that as well. And finally, maybe push for a more creative, self-reliant population, you don't always have to look out there for some of these opportunities. We create them right here, and we should just look around us.
I'm happy you mentioned create them right here, because we tend to look to the West. But in Africa, I think there's also a good opportunity to explore the creative industry.
Exactly. We have a very huge market here that largely we are not taking advantage of, especially because there's always something, we are always seeing one thing or the other from the Western side. And so it makes it very difficult for us to look within and look at some of the uniqueness that we have. We were having a conversation about artificial intelligence the other day and the opportunities to create. This is one way that we can explore the nuances that our culture presents and makes us special to the world as at large.
Is there a role in there for the government as well?
There is a role. I mean, the fact that the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, or Ghana's ambassador to the U.S. has already mentioned that, or clarified that it is not applicable to short-term stays. That already indicates that there is some movement within the government machinery as far as this pause of, processing of immigrant visas are concerned. And so we just have to wait and see how far that consultation and collaboration is going to go to be able to make sure that creative within the system are not left behind as far as some of these regulations and policies are concerned.
And I know quite a number of African creatives who like to ply their trade outside of the country.
Exactly.
There, and it resonates. Well, before we go, because it's our first segment for the year, what are you predicting for our show business industry this year? And where do people make money? Where do you think the money will be going?
This year, I think money will be going more into creative technology. Okay. Because that is the pathway that has been created. Last year, we saw a rise, a very astronomical rise in terms of focus of investors in those areas. We saw many African creatives come up with very innovative technological ideas that bridge the gap between, for instance, the finance and the creative sector, which is something that has not been looked at for a very long time. But because of exposure to some of these technologies, these new ways of doing things, and of course, the ability to travel and experience what others are doing, people are able to now pick some of the issues that they think can apply to Africa. And then when they come here, they are able to develop ways, contextualize it to make sure that people in this space are also taking advantage of it. So I'm just seeing that there will be a lot more of that going into the rest of 2026.
Well, I know what I'll be doing this year. I'll be following you more often, because you always know how to figure out where the money is. And so, yes.
We're trying our best.
Thanks for passing through, Ken Ochidako.
You're welcome, Daryl.
Creative economy analyst, also culture journalist with myjoyonline.com. And that's the marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Head there for the day's latest. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend. I'm following the Money Man.